Good morning, everybody. I'm having so much fun with this. I got the timer set at 6 seconds or 6 minutes. It's going to beep at me. The coffee's ice cold. I just tried explaining this to a friend of mine in the laundromat, which it just was way over her head. But I'm having so much fun with this. And I'm sitting in Phoenix, Arizona, in the middle of a college campus. I'm renting a HUD apartment. And if you go all the way around the world, our distance above the equator is very close to the Jerusalem, located north of the equator. So you just draw a line around the world, and we're living in the desert, Phoenix, Arizona, in the valley, in the desert. And there's desert there, the northern half of the Arabian desert, where Aramaic is spoken, Assyrian Aramaic, Iraq and Iran. And anyway, I held the Bible up. This is teaching number 3 on the location of the temple. I held the Bible up the other day, and I said, Lord, where do you want me to read? The Lord said, Ezekiel 47. And I explain about the race car 471, 47:1. So I'm reading Ezekiel. I'm reading about the threshing floor and an altar that gets built on the threshing floor of the Jebusite. Can't remember his name or say his name. Anyway, the Jebusite, David, pays for that threshing floor area of land, builds an altar, sacrifice, and a peace offering, because there's a plague in the land. And he stops the angel that's with his sword drawn, and the plague, by offering burnt offerings and a peace offering to God on the altar that he erects on the threshing floor. Now, when you look up threshing floor, it's right next to the word threshold. Now, the Lord's telling me to read in Ezekiel 47 about the temple that faces east, the door to the temple, the threshold of the temple, the steps, and the running water that comes out of the southeast corner of the threshold, the steps in front of the door to the temple that face east. We are now facing east and looking to our right, south and east corner. And out now, if this is all spiritual, this is cool, all right? But listen to me now. I hope someone will see this and get this to the people that are doing excavation in the city of David, south of the south wall, okay, in Jerusalem. Because I'm going to tell you where the threshing hole, the altar that was built, and it has to do with the Gihon Springs, which is the only flowing, moving water in the city of David or in Old Jerusalem. Underground, the only running, moving water, a stream, all right? Because in the spiritual vision of Ezekiel 47, the running water came out of the southeast corner of the threshold steps, or the porch in front of the doors to the temple. And it ran south of the altar, it says, where sacrifices, burnt offerings and sacrifices were made. The kitchen was there where water was boiled to make food. The priests ate the good meat. The fat was burned to God, the Lord, all right, the God of Israel, Most High, all right? And the moving water ran south of the altar, and there were historians that said they had gone out the northern gate, like it tells you in the word, around to the east, and saw water probably mixed with blood if they're washing down the altar, running out of the wall or running out of the southeast side of the wall to the temple area. Now, if we know the area that the altar before the temple was, how square, it always tells you to measure this and measure that, and somewhere in that area the altar was, in Ezekiel's vision 47, it says this running water was south of the altar, coming out of the southeast corner of the threshold steps to the temple. The only moving running water is the Gihon Springs. So you can't go further than the walls of the area where the altar was. Now, we may not have the altar, an inscription on the altar before the temple, but David built an altar on the threshing hole that he paid money for. There's my 6 minutes. That he bought from the Jebusite, built an altar. There was an altar before the temple for sacrifice. And in Ezekiel's vision, the flowing running water ran south of the altar. And the altar before the temple can't be further than the furthest dimension from wall to wall where the altar was. And we have that dimension. So you can't take the temple and put it up on the upper plateau where the Roman fort was if you took the maximum distance between the two walls where the altar was before the temple. And the only running water is the Gihon Springs. So you have to start, even if you put the south wall south of the Gihon Springs, you can only go so far north to get to the other wall, and the altar's between that. And the altar is in front of the doors and the threshold and the steps of the temple where the running water ran out on the southeast corner because the temple faced east. Are you getting all this? Is there anybody that digs in the city of David in Old Jerusalem, south of the south wall where the Gihon Springs is? And you can only go so far north, whatever the distance is between the south wall and the north wall, before the temple where the altar is. That is the maximum distance you can go. And I don't think you can get over the wall to the north where they think the temple walls. I don't even think you can get north if you use the total distance from the Gihon Springs to get to the west-south corner where they face the wall and put their prayers in the cracks of the stones. So what I'm trying to tell you is the temple that faced east is south of the south wall because water ran, and the Gihon Springs is the only running, moving water in the city of David or in Old Jerusalem, and it is south of the south wall. Do you think you could locate where the temple was with that information? Love ya. This is part 3 on the location of the temple. Ezekiel 47 and read 1 Chronicles 21. Love ya. Bye.